As long as I can remember, my folks were never good to me. If I didn't do exactly what they said, they'd hit me. Sometimes, the beatings were so bad I couldn't even get out of bed. I often wondered why my younger brother got all their love, while I just got the constant abuse. One night, I really had to use the bathroom. Half asleep, I heard Mom and Dad talking. The house was so quiet that I could hear every word clearly. Dad said, "Felicity is 10 now, and with food so scarce, it's time to send her up the mountain." My heart sank, and all sleep vanished. I strained to catch every bit of their conversation. After Dad spoke, silence filled the room for a moment. Then, I heard Mom's voice. "She should have been sent away ages ago. One more person, one more mouth to feed." Dad sighed. "Ah, but there are downsides to her leaving." Mom sounded curious. "What downsides?" "No one to do the chores," Dad replied. "Don't think about it," Mom said. "Sending her up the mountain will get us some money." Another silence followed. Then Dad asked, "Pastor Davies should be here in a few days, right?" "Soon. By the end of the month at the latest," Mom replied. "Don't worry about it. Get some sleep. We have work tomorrow." Quiet settled over the house once more. I desperately tried to stop my tears, but they freely streamed from my eyes. I couldn't believe Mom and Dad wanted to send me away. Despair washed over me, followed by a wave of panic. I felt completely lost. That night, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. My mind raced with frantic thoughts. I lay there with my eyes wide open until dawn. I was heartbroken by my parents' cruelty. Why couldn't I stay with them like my brother, when we were both their children? I spent the entire night blaming myself for not being diligent enough. Maybe if I worked harder, they would love me. As soon as the sky began to lighten, I got up to start the fire and chop wood. I ground soybeans to make tofu. By the time the sun was fully up, I had already made the soy milk. Dad seemed surprised when he woke up, asking why I was up so early. Mom said, "Felicity, after you sell the tofu today, go buy your favorite meatball." "No, Mom, I don't want any," I said, shaking my head. Tears welled up. Mom quickly wiped them away. "Felicity, what's wrong?" Crying, I told them, "You don't want me anymore. You're going to send me away." Dad froze for a moment. "Who told you that?" he asked. Mom shot him a look, and Dad fell silent. I clutched Mom's hand. "Mom, Dad, please don't send me away. I'll work hard. I promise I won't eat too much." Mom just kept glancing at Dad. Dad turned his head and looked outside. "Felicity, your two younger brothers are still small," he said. "Times are tough right now. We'll bring you back when things get better." "I'm not going," I insisted stubbornly. As soon as the words left my mouth, Dad slapped me across the face. A sharp pain shot from my cheek into my heart. I didn't say another word. "You have to go," Dad roared. "Next time Pastor Davies comes, you'll go with him." Seeing this, Mom, uncharacteristically, pulled me into her embrace, shielding my head. "Just talk to her." "Why hit her again?" she said, feigning concern. Dad glared at me fiercely, then turned and left. I pushed away from Mom's embrace and walked out the door. Mom's hug wasn't warm. I understood that no matter what I said, I would still be sent away. This home no longer had a place for me. Normally, I'd look forward to Pastor Davies's visits. He always brought so many wild goods, especially fresh chestnuts, my favorite. My two brothers loved them too, so even when he brought a lot, I only ever got a little. But ever since I learned I was to be sent up the mountain, I wished he wouldn't come this year. Maybe if he didn't show up, Mom and Dad would change their minds. Sadly, time didn't care about my worries, nor would it slow down because of my fear. The things you fear most often hit you hardest when your guard is down. It was early morning when a limping man slowly appeared at the village entrance. Old Mrs. Smith rushed to greet him, asking in surprise, "Pastor Davies, what happened to your leg?" Mrs. Smith's words were concerned, but her eyes kept darting to Pastor Davies's bag. Pastor Davies glanced at me, his face expressionless, and simply said, "Nothing, just fell out of a tree." Knowing he was here to take me up the mountain, I wasn't happy about his arrival. My dad, standing beside me, said, "Pastor Davies, please take Felicity with you up the mountain this time. Our family's situation is bad now. We really can't afford to raise her." Hearing this, Pastor Davies paused, looked at me, and without another word, nodded. Pastor Davies had been bringing goods to our family every year, ever since I could remember. I wasn't close to him. For one, he didn't talk much, and for another, he always gave off a very serious vibe. Mom told me he was only 20, just 10 years older than me. As he was leaving, I heard Mom ask Pastor Davies for money. Pastor Davies didn't say a word, just handed her his money bag. If I hadn't seen Mom ask Pastor Davies for money, I might have felt better, but I did see it. Mom must really hate me. They sold me. All my dignity vanished the moment Mom took the money from Pastor Davies. In the future, I would just be a lowly thing. When I left home, Mom and Dad didn't even say an extra word. I walked in silence. A single wheat straw made me feel utterly worthless. Pastor Davies only spoke 2 sentences to me. One was, "Are you hungry? Do you want something to eat?" The second was, "From now on, call me Uncle Master." Looking at his serious face, I didn't dare say much, only nodded. By the time we reached the mountain, it was dark. After walking all day, my legs were sore and swollen. At the temple gate, a person was sitting on a stone stool, fanning themselves. Seeing me, they immediately came over and asked in a surprised tone, "Pastor Davies, did something happen to Felicity's family that she had to be brought to the mountain?" Uncle Master gestured towards me. "This is my senior brother, call him Headmaster." I softly called out, "Headmaster." Headmaster paused, then quickly busied himself. You're home. Rest first. I'll go make dinner." Soon, dinner was served, 3 very simple dishes. My mouth had been watering for a while. Headmaster served me a bowl of rice, and I devoured it. After finishing one bowl, I noticed Headmaster and Uncle Master staring at me. I felt a little embarrassed. "Eat, child, eat," Headmaster said, quickly serving me more food. Then he asked Uncle Master, "How long has Felicity not eaten? Didn't you say her parents were very good to her?" Hearing this, I looked up and met Uncle Master's gaze. It was a look I had never seen before, and it pleasantly surprised me. I quickly lowered my head and continued eating. Tears of grievance fell into my rice, making it taste sweeter than ever before. After eating, I quickly stood up to clear the dishes. Headmaster immediately stopped me. "You rest first. Headmaster will clean up." I reached out for the dishes, but Headmaster had already gathered them all. I was extremely tired, so I leaned against the stone stool by the door to rest. Who knew I'd fall asleep there? When I woke up, it was already the next day. I was lying on an unfamiliar bed, and I jumped up in a fright. If I had slept in this late at home, Mom and Dad would have already beaten me out the door. Headmaster was weaving a bamboo basket. Seeing me awake, he told me that food was on the table and I should eat. After staying at the White Cloud Temple for some time, I gradually adjusted. Sometimes I'd think of Mom, Dad, and my brothers. I even fantasized that they loved me and only sent me up the mountain so I could eat my fill. The White Cloud Temple wasn't big. Only Headmaster and Uncle Master lived there. Besides the worship hall, there were only 3 rooms left. There weren't many visitors, so we had to grow our own food. The temple had 2 oxen. Uncle Master usually took care of them. When I arrived, Headmaster told me to learn from Uncle Master. "Headmaster, I'll be taking care of the oxen sooner or later," I thought, curious about what the oxen ate. I leaned in to watch. The ox, annoyed by my presence, kicked me. Since then, I've had a bit of a phobia. Every time I went herding with Uncle Master, I'd stay far away. Uncle Master said I was too timid. Actually, I was a bit shy. Uncle Master didn't talk much and always seemed very serious. I never really relaxed around him. One evening, I overheard Uncle Master and Headmaster talking about picking wild grapes to make wine. As soon as I heard wild grapes, all sleepiness vanished. I pricked up my ears and listened carefully to their conversation. I happened to know the place Uncle Master mentioned. He said the wild grapes grew near a paddy field on Slope Ridge. That paddy field was in a mountain hollow, with one side against a rock face. Below the rock face was a spring. I had only passed by before, taking a quick glance from afar, and hadn't noticed any grapes. The next afternoon, while the oxen were grazing, I followed the path I remembered. Half an hour later, I finally found the field. I walked along the embankment to the end of the paddy field and, sure enough, saw wild grapes. The wild grapes were clinging to a tung oil tree. No wonder I hadn't seen them last time. The grapes were all hidden among the vines. The vines and leaves covered the tree tightly. It took me a lot of effort to pull open the vines and climb the tree. I stepped on the vines and picked a bunch of grapes from among the leaves, eating them. At the time, I was very excited, eating grapes and not even noticing that it was getting dark. I took off my pants, tied the legs, and filled them with wild grapes. When I couldn't eat or carry any more, I prepared to go home. As I was climbing down the tree, I suddenly saw someone standing on the embankment. It was already dark, so I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. Before I could speak, she spoke first. Her tone was very harsh, and she immediately cursed me. "You're a thief, stealing my grapes." Hearing it was a woman, I felt a bit awkward. My pants were full of grapes, and my lower body was bare. I could only stay behind the tree and reply, "These are wild grapes. How is that stealing?" When she heard me say that, she started walking towards me. Seeing her approach, I panicked. I quickly shouted, "Don't come over, don't come over. I'm not wearing pants." She ignored me and walked directly in front of me. That's when I saw clearly. It was a very delicate-looking woman with clear eyes. Even though it was dark, her eyes looked bright. She came over so fast that by the time I reacted, I quickly used my grape-filled pants to cover my lower body. "These are my grapes. Picking my grapes is stealing," she said. I was young then, and her words left me speechless. I actually believed the grapes were hers, so I said to her, "Then what should I do? I've already picked them. How about I give them all to you?" She thought for a moment, then said angrily, "Don't come here again. If you steal my grapes again, I'll tell my grandma." Hearing her say that, I was a bit at a loss, unsure how to respond. I was just relieved that she wouldn't tell her grandma. Then a voice called out, "Felicity, time to go home." "Who's that?" she asked me. "My Uncle Master," I said. Without another word, I started towards Uncle Master. Uncle Master walked over and said, "Got addicted to picking grapes, huh?" Didn't even realize it was dark. I subconsciously turned to my side, intending to tell her I was leaving and to not tell her grandma, but when I turned, there was no one there. "Who were you talking to?" Uncle Master asked me. "Just now, someone said the wild grapes were hers and told me not to pick them," I said. Uncle Master looked at me with a suspicious gaze. "You mean someone just told you not to pick grapes?" The surroundings were pitch black. Mountains and trees were hidden in the darkness. The girl was gone. I looked around but couldn't find her. "There's no path here. Where did she leave from? What did she look like?" Uncle Master stared at me, making me feel like he thought I was lying. "A girl, about my age, was just standing where you are," I said, pointing to where Uncle Master stood. Uncle Master didn't move. I was silent for a moment. Then he said in a loud voice, "These grapes are wild. They grew on the mountain." After he said that, Uncle Master pushed me, and we walked home. At the time, I didn't think much of it and just left. Halfway home, Uncle Master said to me, "Don't come here to pick grapes alone anymore." "I won't," I said. "They belong to someone else." Uncle Master cursed. "Who would plant them in this wild mountain gully? I'm telling you not to come because there are man-eating things in the mountains." Man-eating things? That sentence made my heart flutter. I was young and didn't grasp the full meaning of Uncle Master's words. I just thought he was telling me that the grapevines were wild and not planted by anyone. After we got home, Uncle Master told Headmaster about my encounter. Headmaster immediately reached out and touched my forehead, asking me what she looked like. I found it a bit strange. Hadn't Uncle Master already told him? Seeing Headmaster ask, I repeated my description. Headmaster listened, then looked at Uncle Master, asking if he had seen her. Uncle Master shook his head. Headmaster didn't say anything more and urged us to go to bed early. The next day, when I woke up, Headmaster and Uncle Master weren't home. The sun was bright outside. A villager passing by the temple told me that Headmaster and Uncle Master had gone to perform a ritual, and that I should stay at the temple and not wander off. So I sat on the temple threshold and played. Not far from the White Cloud Temple was a mountain covered in wild bamboo. The autumn wind was already quite cool. I sat on the threshold, and later, as the wind kept blowing, I leaned against the door and fell asleep. I don't know how long I slept, but I felt someone pinching my nose, waking me up. I opened my eyes and saw a familiar face. She was smiling at me. I thought she had come to settle scores, probably about me stealing her grapes yesterday. I quickly said, "I didn't pick any grapes today." She sat down next to me on the threshold and immediately said, "My grandma died." Hearing her say that, my heart sank. I remembered the villager saying that Headmaster and Uncle Master had gone to perform a ritual for someone. I secretly thought that this ritual must be for her grandma's funeral. I looked at her, and she was wiping away tears. I didn't know how to comfort her, so I took some offerings from the altar and gave them to her. I unwrapped a sugar cube for her and put it to her mouth. At first, she was a little shy. I tried to make her laugh, and gradually she became more lively. I asked her name, and she said it was Hazel. I played with her until dark, and she only left when it was completely dark, but I found it a bit strange. When she left, instead of taking the perfectly good main path, she walked directly into the bamboo grove. That night, Headmaster and Uncle Master returned. They looked quite tired, so I didn't feel it was right to go up and ask questions. When Uncle Master saw that the offerings on the altar were gone, he pinched my ear and said sternly, "Felicity, did you forget what I told you? Don't steal the patriarch's offerings. Stealing them will rot your mouth." Headmaster said, "She's just a child. If she wants to eat, let her eat." He called me over. "Come here, Felicity, see what Headmaster brought you." I walked to Headmaster's side, and he took 2 oranges from his pocket and gave them to me. I saw a cut on Headmaster's hand, and it was bleeding. "What happened to you?" I asked. "Accidentally cut myself," Headmaster said. I took the oranges, glanced at Uncle Master, and only accepted them after his eyes gave permission. That night, I lay in bed, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. My mind was full of Hazel's face. The reason I thought of Hazel was that I felt very sorry for her. She said she lived with her grandma, and now that her grandma was gone, she was all alone. The next day, Headmaster told me to go herd the oxen. I drove the oxen to the mountain hollow where the wild grapes were. While the oxen were grazing, I went to the wild grape tree. At first, I waited under the tree for a long time, but Hazel didn't appear. Just as I was about to leave, Hazel showed up. Her appearance startled me. I didn't know where she came from. Hazel's eyes were a bit red. I was even more certain that Headmaster and Uncle Master had performed the funeral rites for her grandma. So, I took out the food I had brought and gave it to her. The food was simple, but Hazel ate it happily. I picked wild grapes from the tree to fill my own stomach. During this time, I asked Hazel where she lived. She pointed to the mountainside and said, "Right there." The direction she pointed was covered in trees, and faintly, I could indeed see a roof. I didn't think much of it. We played until dark. I thought that if I didn't get the oxen back soon, Uncle Master would come looking for me, so I told her, "I need to go back now. Wait for me here tomorrow at noon." Later, Headmaster and Uncle Master saw how enthusiastic I was about herding cattle, so they completely handed over the task to me. What scared me during this time was that one day, when Uncle Master was cooking, he suddenly complained to Headmaster that my appetite was getting bigger and bigger. Fortunately, Headmaster was good to me. He said I was at a growing age and this was when I would eat the most. Seeing Headmaster say this, Uncle Master didn't say anything more. A few days later, Uncle Master curiously asked me why I ate so much every day but was still so thin. I couldn't really say anything, so I just smiled to cover it up. I shared all my food with Hazel every day. Hazel's complexion looked much better than when I first met her, and her eyes were more vibrant. Winter arrived as scheduled. A heavy snowfall hit just a few days into winter. The snow closed off the mountain, so I didn't have to herd the oxen anymore. The oxen were kept in the cattle pen, and all I had to do was cut straw on time and put it in their trough. Not having to herd oxen meant I had no excuse to take food out of the temple. It snowed for several days straight, and the sky remained overcast. The snow was too thick, so I didn't go out. Uncle Master, fearing I'd be idle, gave me a new chore, sweeping the accumulated snow in front of the temple every morning. That morning, I opened the door and stepped over the threshold. My feet felt soft beneath me. I looked down and quickly withdrew my foot in fright. When I looked closely, I saw a wild pheasant and a long trail of blood. I quickly looked ahead and saw Hazel standing in the bamboo grove, smiling at me. She was wearing an extra piece of clothing and a very strange hat. Seeing her smile, an indescribable guilt surged through me. I went back inside the temple, put all the offerings from the altar into a cloth bag, and carried it as I ran to find her. Halfway there, I remembered that Headmaster had bought sugar cubes a few days ago, so I found them and stuffed a large handful into the bag. When I reached her, I was out of breath. I extended my hand to her. "Here, this is for you." I don't know if she was angry with me or just shy, but she didn't reach out to take it. I had to grab her hand and put the bag into it. "I can't bring you food these days. Headmaster and Uncle Master are both home. When the weather gets warmer and I can herd the oxen again, I'll bring you food." After saying that, I didn't dare look into Hazel's eyes, only looking down. When I looked up again, Hazel took off the strange hat she was wearing and put it on my head. I stared into her eyes, which were as blank as the snow beneath my feet. "I'm going back then," Hazel said. I was about to speak, but Hazel had already walked into the depths of the bamboo grove. Snow fell from the bamboo, covering her as she disappeared. After she left, I picked up her hat and saw that it was made from a fox head. The snow this winter came early and fell heavily. Every morning when I opened the door, I'd instinctively look towards the bamboo grove to see if Hazel was there. Each time, she wasn't, and my heart worried. I had gone into the bamboo grove to look for her, but after walking only a short distance, my feet would sink into the snow, unable to move. I also looked for her by the wild plum tree, but the wild plum tree had also shed its leaves, leaving only bare vines. She wasn't there. I secretly wondered if she had frozen to death. The thought of her possibly freezing to death made me anxious. I also asked Uncle Master and Headmaster, hoping to get some news from them, but they both shook their heads and said they didn't know. By the time late winter arrived, my dad sent someone to bring me a message, saying he wanted to pick me up from the mountain to celebrate the new year together. I was quite happy. I thought, Dad and Mom still care about me. I figured I wouldn't be back on the mountain until after the new year. I kept hoping Hazel would appear so I could tell her about going down the mountain. The Lava Festival arrived. Headmaster and Uncle Master treated this day with great importance. Uncle Master woke up early and busied himself in the woodshed. The temple was too poor, so Headmaster instructed Uncle Master to put more glutinous rice and brown rice in the porridge, but to use fewer red dates and red beans. Uncle Master asked me to get the bag of red beans and red dates. I found the bag, opened it, and saw that the red beans had all been stolen by mice, and there were only about a dozen red dates left. I thought that even if I put all the dates in, it wouldn't make much difference. I took them to Uncle Master, holding the bag open for him to see. Uncle Master said, "Then let's just make red date porridge." Uncle Master then poured the remaining dozen or so red dates into a pot of porridge. While Uncle Master was cooking the porridge, he told me to sweep the snow outside the temple gate. I took the broom and went out. The temperature had dropped again. It was colder than yesterday. I swept an area the size of my palm, then prepared to go back inside to warm up. Just as I was about to go back in, a voice called out from behind me, "Little Taoist Felicity." I looked up at the sound. The person was Mr. Anderson, who lived down the mountain. Before I could answer him, he continued, "Is your headmaster in the temple?" Headmaster had just woken up. Mr. Anderson listened, then looked at me. "Help me go in and call headmaster," he said. "I need to see him." "You can come in," I said. "Warm yourself by the fire." Mr. Anderson glanced inside. "I won't go in. Just help me call headmaster." I thought Mr. Anderson was being stubborn, but then I remembered he might be asking headmaster to come down the mountain for lava porridge. I quickly went inside to call headmaster. "Headmaster," I said, "someone's looking for you. They're waiting by the door." Headmaster had woken up early and was already by the fire. Hearing me, he walked towards the door. When he saw headmaster come out, Mr. Anderson began to complain. "2 days ago, I lost several chickens. Today, even my pig is gone. The new year is almost here. What am I going to do?" Hearing about the lost chickens and pig, headmaster said, "You should report this to the authorities." Mr. Anderson shook his head. "Headmaster, if I could report it, why would I come to you? My son, Junior, keeps saying he can't sleep. Says there's someone in the house." Headmaster paused. "Someone?" Mr. Anderson nodded. "Not just one person, but several people." Mr. Anderson said softly, "You have to take care of this. I suspect there's something unclean in my house, so I want to ask you to come take a look." Headmaster thought for a moment. "It's cold and freezing. Maybe something from the mountain came down." Mr. Anderson's face turned pale with fear when he heard this. "Headmaster, what should we do?" I didn't quite understand what something from the mountain meant, so I asked Headmaster, "What are things from the mountain?" "Man-eating things," Headmaster said. My heart sank. Uncle Master had also mentioned man-eating things in the mountains before, and now Headmaster was saying the same thing. My curiosity grew even stronger. It seemed the man-eating things had gone to Mr. Anderson's house. No wonder he was in such a hurry. I glanced at Mr. Anderson and noticed he actually chuckled to himself. Headmaster then said to me, "Felicity, your Uncle Master is cooking porridge. Come with me for a while." I nodded, thinking it would be good to see what those man-eating things were. Mr. Anderson's house wasn't far from the temple. When the weather was clear, you could see his house from the temple gate, but not when it snowed. As we left, Headmaster handed me a bamboo woven cage. I looked at the cage closely. It was covered in densely written scriptures. As we walked, I couldn't help but ask Headmaster, "Is this cage for chickens?" Headmaster didn't answer. Instead, he pointed to Mr. Anderson's house and asked, "Felicity, what do you see?" I followed Headmaster's gaze and only saw a thick layer of snow piled on Mr. Anderson's roof. "Headmaster, it's snow. Lots of snow," I said. Headmaster hit my head with a bamboo stick, hurting me so much that I dropped the cage I was holding. "Look again," Headmaster said, holding the bamboo stick and watching me. I covered my head and looked carefully. That's when I noticed a circle of mist around Mr. Anderson's house, but this mist was black. Headmaster raised the bamboo stick again as if to hit me. I quickly said, I see it, Mr. Anderson." Beside us, deliberately said, "Felicity, you must learn your skills well in the future." I managed a strained smile and bent down to pick up the cage. Suddenly, I noticed the footprints on the ground weren't right. There should have been 6 footprints for the 3 of us, 2 pairs of large footprints and 1 pair of small footprints. But now, there was only 1 pair of large footprints and 1 pair of small footprints, plus a pair of animal footprints. I instinctively looked at Mr. Anderson. Headmaster hit me with the bamboo stick again. "Let's go quickly. The sooner we finish, the sooner we can come back for lava porridge." I glanced at Headmaster. His eyes were unreadable, but I knew he definitely didn't want me to see something. It then occurred to me that ever since we left, Mr. Anderson had been walking behind us, not in front. I wondered, is he afraid we'll see his feet? "Headmaster," I said, "I need to pee." With that, I ran behind Mr. Anderson, about 10 feet away, and pretended to urinate. While pretending to pee, I deliberately glanced at his feet. That quick look scared the pee right out of me. Mr. Anderson's pant legs were hiding 2 hooves. He and Headmaster stood side by side, standing in the white snow, making them even more obvious. I quickly turned my head away and saw 2 pairs of shoes not far away. I understood then. Mr. Anderson's feet must be hooves, and it was inconvenient for him to wear shoes, so he secretly threw them away as he walked. "Little Daoist, are you done yet?" Mr. Anderson called out. Yes. My voice was already trembling a bit. I ran back to Headmaster's side, wanting to find a chance to tell him that Mr. Anderson had 2 hooves. Headmaster reached out and held my hand, squeezing it hard. I looked up at him. He said, "Let's go." I understood then that Headmaster must have already known. Mr. Anderson's house was a 3-room brick house. Before we even reached it, a woman led a child out. "Headmaster, you're finally here," she said, then nudged her son. Junior, tell Headmaster where you saw the person." Junior pointed to the room next to them and said, "Right in that room." My heart sank. I walked to the room and glanced inside, finding nothing but some farm tools. The only strange thing was a strong, fishy smell in the room. I thought about it carefully, and a shiver ran down my spine. This must be the smell of decay from something that had been decaying for a long time. Then, I remembered Mr. Anderson's hooves, and I felt my mouth go dry and my body tremble. Headmaster looked down, and his face instantly turned grim. I also looked at the ground, and that's when I realized the source of the bloody smell was from the ground. There was a large figure drawn in blood on the floor. Mr. Anderson and his wife were blocking the doorway, as if intentionally preventing us from leaving. I instinctively looked at Headmaster. Headmaster looked at me and said softly, "Felicity, you go back first and tell Uncle Master to light the longevity lamp. Tell him to put less sugar in the lava porridge. Headmaster doesn't like it that sweet. It makes him have diarrhea." Headmaster is old now. Diarrhea can be fatal. I wanted to leave, but suddenly my feet couldn't move. "Go," Headmaster said, reaching out his hand. I thought he was going to hit me again and quickly flinched, but he didn't hit me. Instead, he rubbed the spot where he had hit me before. He took the bamboo cage from my hand and put the bamboo stick he was holding into my hand. That's when I realized that the bamboo stick Headmaster had used to hit me wasn't just an ordinary bamboo stick. It was engraved with densely packed talismans. As I began to understand, I gripped the bamboo stick tightly. Headmaster wanted me to call Uncle Master, so he was intentionally hinting at something. Headmaster gently pushed my back. I stepped out the door. Headmaster said to me, "Don't play in the snow on your way back. Go straight back." I nodded. Headmaster waved his hand and closed the door, trapping himself and Mr. Anderson's family inside the house. I turned and ran towards the temple, not daring to rest at all. My heart felt empty, as if the sky would collapse if I slowed down. I ran, gasping for breath. It was very strange. The path hadn't seemed difficult on the way here, but on the way back, it felt incredibly long. I could only run desperately forward, but the snow was too deep, and I kept sinking into it. I don't know how long I ran, but I finally saw the temple. Just then, I tripped over a branch blocking the path. When I got up, the bamboo stick in my hand had broken into 2 pieces. I simply threw away the broken stick and continued to run forward. This time, I hadn't run far when I suddenly heard a very strange sound. The accumulated snow seemed to be talking. I didn't dare to look back, and could only keep running. What filled me with despair was that the temple I had seen just a moment ago seemed to have disappeared again. The footsteps behind me grew heavier and heavier. I didn't dare to look back, and my throat became increasingly dry. In the freezing cold, my clothes were soaked. Despair, like the snow, fell upon my body and heart. I wanted to turn back and see what was following me. "Felicity," a voice called out to me. I followed the sound and saw Hazel. She was waving at me. "Hazel," I shouted, running towards her. Hazel breathed out, rubbing her hands. "Follow me." I followed Hazel forward. We hadn't walked far when, sure enough, I saw the temple again. Concerned for Headmaster's safety, I didn't bother to talk to Hazel and immediately ran towards the temple. Back at the temple, Uncle Master had already finished cooking the lava porridge. Seeing me return alone, he asked, "Where's Headmaster?" Upon seeing Uncle Master, the fear within me was immediately released. I burst into tears, crying loudly, "Uncle Master, quickly go save Headmaster. Headmaster is at Mr. Anderson's house," I cried. Uncle Master froze for a moment, then reacted, realizing something bad was about to happen. I didn't understand what was happening. Uncle Master went back into the house, grabbed his sword, and ran towards Mr. Anderson's house. Uncle Master ran very fast. It took me a lot of effort to keep up. He even slipped and fell in the snow. That fall sobered me up a lot and helped me calm down. I suddenly remembered Headmaster's instructions. He wanted Uncle Master to light the longevity lamp. I wanted to call out to Uncle Master, but he had already gone far ahead. I endured the pain and followed him. Soon, we arrived at Mr. Anderson's house. The door was closed, just as it was when I left earlier. "Headmaster," Uncle Master shouted, banging on the door. There was no response from inside. Uncle Master started kicking the door. He kicked it several times, but the door wouldn't budge. Uncle Master took out a talisman from his bag, silently recited an incantation, and then the talisman burst into flames with a whoosh. Uncle Master pushed the talisman through the crack in the door and shouted, "Break open the tightly shut doors." With a crack, a gap appeared in the door. Uncle Master kicked the door open. Headmaster was standing in the middle of the room, with his back to us. "Headmaster," I called out. Headmaster still didn't respond to us. "Brother," Uncle Master called out. Headmaster still didn't respond. Only then did Uncle Master walk around to the front of Headmaster and also see the strange figure on the ground. His face instantly changed. He urgently called out, "Brother." I heard Uncle Master's choked voice, so I stepped into the room. Then I heard movement from the room on my right. I turned my head and saw a shadowy figure flickering in the corner. I immediately froze. Uncle Master saw that I was frozen and also sensed something was wrong. He walked around to my side and looked in the direction I was staring. The shadowy figure in the corner suddenly rushed out. Uncle Master roared, "Beast, where do you think you're going?" I only saw a flash of sword light, and then a wail sounded in my ears. When I looked again, Uncle Master's figure was gone. I was left alone in the room. Headmaster was standing in front of me. "Headmaster," I called softly. Headmaster's shoulders were slightly hunched, and his head was bowed, like a scarecrow in a field. Seeing that Headmaster didn't respond, I walked around to his front. When I reached the front, Headmaster's head was still bowed. I thought, why isn't Headmaster responding to me? So I reached out to pull his hand. Headmaster fell straight down. Blood flowed from Headmaster's clothes. That's when I saw that Headmaster's clothes were empty inside. There was nothing left. All the flesh had been eaten, leaving only a head. I recoiled in fear and then heard laughter coming from the room. As if mocking me, something drifted onto my face. I touched it, and it was snowflakes. It was snowing outside. The wind blew, and snowflakes landed on my face. I was frozen like a dead rabbit, unable to move. The temperature of my body seemed to have dropped a few degrees below the outside. I looked towards the room next to me. In the dim light, I saw a face that looked like a civet cat. My back was soaked. A civet cat's face was smiling at me. I wanted to run, but my legs had no strength. It stood in the darkness. A hand reached out from the room. Its palm was open, revealing a heart. The heart was still alive, beating thump thump. I thought it might be Headmaster's heart. The fear made me vomit loudly. Just then, I heard the sound of a leaf whistle from outside. The hand retreated into the darkness. The sound of something climbing through a window echoed. Silence returned to the surroundings. I quickly ran outside. Uncle Master, panting, ran out of the woods. Blood was dripping from his sword. Seeing that I was unharmed, the tense expression on his face relaxed. He leaned on his sword and sat down. After a moment, Uncle Master asked me, "Felicity, did Headmaster tell you anything?" "He said to light the longevity lamp in the temple, and to put less sugar in the lava porridge. It gives him diarrhea," I said. Uncle Master immediately stood up, muttering to himself, "The purpose of these beasts is the longevity lamp. Felicity, why didn't you say anything sooner?" Uncle Master yelled at me. I didn't dare to look at his face, only feeling as if I had turned into an ice block. I didn't know what I had done wrong, but I felt like I had caused an enormous disaster. Uncle Master didn't say anything more and ran quickly towards the temple. I followed closely behind Uncle Master. Inside the temple, Uncle Master stared intently at the altar, not saying a word. I kept my head down. Uncle Master had become like snow. He was colder than the snow outside. I remembered there was an oil lamp on the altar, covered by a glass. Now it was empty. "Uncle Master," I said, "without the longevity lamp, there will be more monsters." Headmaster had died. For the first 2 days, I didn't feel sad. I just carefully observed Uncle Master's face. I knew I had made a mistake, but I didn't know how big of a mistake it was, so I was very nervous, fearing that he would suddenly blame me at any moment. That's why I was so cautious during those days. Later, I realized that my worries were unnecessary. Uncle Master didn't intend to blame me. It was then that the emotions of sadness and wrongdoing surged over me. Every tree, every blade of grass would make my tears gush out. Many people came on the day Headmaster was buried. My dad also came. Headmaster was buried on the mountain behind the temple. There were many graves in that area, each one well maintained. Headmaster was buried under a bayberry tree. I remembered how Headmaster used to pull bayberries from his pocket for me to eat. Now I finally knew where the bayberries came from. Headmaster was gone. Nothing was written on his tombstone. After everyone else finished, they went down the mountain. My dad stayed behind and slept in my bed. He probably fell asleep quickly because he was tired from the journey. I tossed and turned, unable to sleep until late into the night. I finally fell asleep, but then in the middle of the night, I felt someone pat my shoulder. I opened my eyes and saw Uncle Master. "What's wrong?" I asked him. Uncle Master didn't speak, just looked at me. My heart felt a little creepy. I didn't understand why Uncle Master was staring at me in the middle of the night. I didn't dare to speak or move, just stared back at him. After a while, he suddenly shook his head, motioning for me to get up and go out with him. I thought that with so many people around these past few days, Uncle Master hadn't had time to scold me. Now that they were gone, Uncle Master was going to scold me, so I got out of bed and followed him outside. After walking out the door for a short while, I found it strange. Uncle Master didn't stop but instead walked towards the mountain. I was a little scared and called out, "Uncle Master." He turned his head then, and his face was no longer Uncle Master's face, but a fox's face. He was only wearing Uncle Master's clothes. I recognized him. That day, he held Headmaster's heart and showed it to me. I turned and ran, and he pounced on me. Almost instantly, the strong, foul smell overwhelmed my nose. Just as I was about to despair, a wail suddenly came from behind me. I turned around and saw him lying on the ground, wailing. An arrow was stuck in his body. I looked in the direction the arrow came from. Uncle Master was putting his bow away. He glared at the fox and cursed, "Su Ching, you are too cruel. You will suffer retribution." Uncle Master walked over with a cold face and pierced his body with his sword. He could no longer speak. I didn't know what to say, just stood there stunned. Uncle Master walked over, bent down, and pulled out his sword. "This is a fox demon," he said, seeing that I didn't speak. He seemed to know what I was thinking. "Headmaster's death has nothing to do with you. You don't have to avoid me." I looked at Uncle Master. not knowing what to say, just numbly went back to my room and lay down. The next day, my dad said to Uncle Master, "Pastor Davies, I'll take Felicity down the mountain today." Uncle Master looked at me. I lowered my head. "Felicity, do you want to go back?" Uncle Master asked me. I nodded slightly, then shook my head. Dad said to me, "You ungrateful child, you've eaten and drunk well on the mountain, and now you've forgotten your mom and brother?" I was silent. Uncle Master understood what I meant. "You can go back," he said, "even though Dad and Mom aren't good to me. Blood is thicker than water. Maybe they've changed now that I'm going back." My dad nodded and said with a smile, "Pastor Davies, then I'll take Felicity back." Uncle Master nodded. Dad pushed my shoulder. Let's go home." Unexpectedly, when we reached the intersection, Dad turned back. "Pastor Davies, look," he said, "now that Felicity is going back, there's another mouth to feed at home." Uncle Master didn't say anything. He took out his money bag from his pocket and handed it to Dad. "Be good to Felicity," he instructed. Dad nodded repeatedly, saying, "I'll definitely be good to her." I looked back. Uncle Master stood at the door, just watching me, like a stone in the sunlight, always there. Halfway home, Dad said to me, "The mountain isn't peaceful now. Headmaster is dead, and with Pastor Davies's limited skills, he might be eaten by a monster any day. The White Cloud Temple can't be stayed in anymore. After the new year, don't come back, stay home." Hearing Dad say that, I felt uncomfortable, so I stopped walking. "Dad, Uncle Master is very powerful," I said. Dad tugged at me, but I still wouldn't move. Slap. He slapped me across the face. "Go. Why are you as stubborn as a log?" I regretted it. Dad still didn't like me. Only when I got home did I understand why Dad wanted me back. It turned out they were afraid of the cold in winter and didn't want to grind flour or do chores, so they wanted to call me back to work. I fell ill during the new year. I don't know if it was from exhaustion or cold. Every day at noon, I would start to have a fever. At first, Dad found doctors for me and I took some medicine, but when it didn't work, they stopped caring. My mom kept saying I was going to die every day, which was too unlucky. I lay in bed every day. When I was conscious, I wondered what Uncle Master was doing alone at the temple. Was he burning wood? A place I never particularly wanted to go before now seemed so appealing. Would he and Hazel come looking for me? The thought made me anxious. I heard others say I might not make it until spring. My body was too weak. I really wanted Uncle Master to come see me. Then I thought, my home is 100 miles from the White Cloud Temple. Uncle Master probably wouldn't come. He disliked me so much. He probably wouldn't come to see me. After the new year, I spent my days drifting between unconsciousness and consciousness. I really wanted to go back to the temple, but my body wouldn't allow it. This day, I woke up and heard someone talking by my ear. I slightly opened my eyes and cried out in surprise, "Uncle Master!" After shouting, my tears flowed freely. Uncle Master placed his hand on my forehead, and his tightly furrowed brows relaxed. He managed a rare smile. "See what Uncle Master brought you," he said. "What?" I asked. Uncle Master held up a bag and shook it in front of me. "Spring bamboo shoots and winter bamboo shoots. These are all your favorites." I really wanted to ask Uncle Master how his new year was, but the words stuck in my throat. I just curiously looked at him. He had lost weight and looked more haggard than before. Strangely, after Uncle Master came to my house, my illness actually got better. My mom said, "Take her away, go with him. We can't afford to treat this sick child." Uncle Master said coldly, "Since you don't want Felicity anymore, don't come looking for her in the future." Mom waved her hand. Won't look. When I returned to the White Cloud Temple, spring had already arrived. The mulberry trees had grown tender shoots. Returning to the White Cloud Temple meant passing by Mr. Anderson's house. As I walked past his house, I felt an eerie chill, as if something was hiding in the room, secretly watching me. After walking a short distance, I looked back and indeed saw a pair of eyes staring at me through the crack in the door. I tugged at Uncle Master's clothes. He noticed me looking at the house, and his expression changed. He quickly walked towards the house, but the monster jumped out the window and escaped. I thought Uncle Master would chase it, but this time he didn't. Instead, he withdrew from Mr. Anderson's house, closed the door tightly, and continued leading me towards the White Cloud Temple. I hadn't been back to the White Cloud Temple for nearly 2 months. Upon arriving at the temple, Uncle Master told me to kowtow to Headmaster's memorial tablet. After I finished kowtowing to Headmaster, Uncle Master suddenly looked at me with a serious expression, then said, "Felicity, from today onwards, you must immediately begin learning Taoist magic." Taoist magic? I hadn't even reacted. Uncle Master nodded. "From now on, don't call me Uncle Master anymore." "Then what should I call you?" I asked. "Call me Master," Uncle Master said. For some reason, when Uncle Master told me to call him Master, I felt a bit awkward and shy to say it. Uncle Master didn't mind, and continued to tell me, "After you learn Taoist magic, you can't be playful anymore." "Understood," I nodded. Uncle Master touched my head. It was from that moment, when Uncle Master touched my head, that I felt he had changed. He had become like Headmaster, making me want to distance myself from him even more. I wanted to find an excuse to get away, so I said I wanted to sweep the courtyard outside. I went to get the broom and was about to sweep the courtyard when a gust of wind suddenly blew in. The temple door swung open with a bang, and an extremely strong, foul smell wafted into the temple. The smell was both disgusting and familiar. I turned to look at Uncle Master. He frowned, then turned, took down his sword, and chased after it. I followed him out, but Uncle Master was already out of sight. Just as I was about to go back into the temple, I felt something hit my head. I looked back and saw Hazel, whom I hadn't seen all winter. To my surprise, she had gained weight. I asked her where she had been all winter. She said it was too cold in winter and she stayed indoors. Today, the weather was nice, so she brought the ox out to graze. With that, she pointed into the distance, and indeed, there was an ox there. I asked her to come sit inside the temple, but she shook her head, saying she was afraid of losing the ox. According to her, Uncle Master was going to teach me Taoist magic. She was even more excited than I was and wanted me to call her a Taoist too in the future. After a while, she said she had to go back. With that, she walked towards the ox. I watched her back. Uncle Master then called me from behind. I turned around. Uncle Master was returning with his sword, and his face didn't look good. My heart sank. I didn't dare to look at him again and busied myself sweeping the ground. I noticed that ever since Uncle Master told me to call him Master, he had become more imposing. That night, Uncle Master told me to go sleep in the graveyard behind the mountain. He said my courage was too small and that I first needed to train my courage. Only then would I not be afraid. When I heard I had to spend the night in the graveyard, I wanted to give up learning Taoist magic. I quickly said, "I'm not learning anymore. I'm not learning anymore." Uncle Master scolded me. "You can't not learn now." I tried to run, but Uncle Master grabbed me, hoisted me onto his shoulders, and ran towards the back mountain. When we reached the graveyard, he directly tied me to a bayberry tree. I looked around, and all around me, even beneath my feet, were graves. I cried out loudly, "I'm not learning anymore. I'm not learning anymore." Uncle Master threatened me, "If you cry, you'll wake them all up." I immediately stopped crying. Uncle Master tied me to a bayberry tree and then went down the mountain. The first half of the night was fine. I wasn't too scared, but in the latter half of the night, as the temperature gradually dropped, I felt like there were people all around me. The nearby graves seemed to be staring at me, not from one direction, but as if I was surrounded by eyes. At that moment, I regretted coming back with Uncle Master, and I also regretted learning Taoist magic from him. People often say that what you fear most comes true. I vaguely saw a dark figure behind the tree. "Who's there? Who is it?" I shouted at the dark figure. The dark figure hesitated for a moment, then its body emerged. Seeing the dark figure, I was overjoyed and called out her name. "Hazel, how did you know I was here?" I asked her. She said she was just about to come look for me when she saw Uncle Master carrying me up the mountain. I asked Hazel to untie the rope on me, and we chatted among the graves. When it was almost dawn, I asked Hazel to tie me back up. According to Uncle Master, I had to stay in the graveyard for 3 nights. So, for these 3 nights, Hazel came every day. She stayed with me every day until dawn before going back. 3 days later, I passed Uncle Master's test and formally began to learn Taoist magic from him. Uncle Master became stricter with me. He changed, constantly reminding me to study Taoist magic diligently. At the same time, I also discovered Headmaster's and Uncle Master's secret. Headmaster and Uncle Master's rituals outside were not actually funerals but rather helping people exorcise evil and ward off misfortune. Now that Headmaster was gone, it was just me following Uncle Master, traveling through various villages to help people exorcise evil. Every time we went to those villages, people would ask, "Where's Headmaster?" We haven't seen him in a long time." Uncle Master would sigh deeply. If it weren't for those monsters, Headmaster would surely still be alive now. So Uncle Master swore that he would definitely eliminate the monster that killed Headmaster. Driven by the seeds of hatred, my Taoist magic also improved by leaps and bounds. Another very important reason was Hazel. I would practice Taoist magic with Hazel when I herded the oxen. For example, for the binding spell, besides drawing the corresponding talismans, I also had to simultaneously recite the corresponding talisman incantations. At first, I always drew the talismans wrong and couldn't practice the incantations well. At these times, I would ask Hazel to remember the talismans and incantations for me. If I didn't know, she would remind me. With the two of us working together, my Taoist magic gradually improved. Hazel also became more and more powerful, just like me. Later, when strange things happened in many villagers' homes, Uncle Master would often send me alone to handle them. I also became a well-known little master in the area, widely respected. Although this feeling was very comfortable, as I grew older, I gradually became less happy. It might have been influenced by Uncle Master. I also wanted to find the monster that killed Headmaster all those years ago, but after many years, that monster seemed to have disappeared. 8 years passed in a flash. I had grown up, and Hazel had been missing for 3 years. I searched for her for a long time but couldn't find her. Soon, winter arrived. That morning, I was sweeping snow in front of the door, when Mr. Davies, who lived down the mountain, came to me and said that all his chickens and ducks had disappeared overnight. At first, I didn't take it seriously, but then he said that his children had seen someone in the house while they were sleeping. Hearing this, I immediately became alert. Years ago, that morning, Mr. Anderson came to see Headmaster, and the situation was similar to this one. Back then, Mr. Anderson had been eaten by a monster, and the monster impersonated him to find Headmaster. So this time, I kept an eye out and checked Mr. Davies's feet. Finding nothing unusual, I breathed a sigh of relief, thinking I was overthinking it. I went back into the temple and told Uncle Master about it. Uncle Master thought my reasoning made sense, so he said he would go with me to Mr. Davies's house. His house was located beneath a bamboo grove. Before we even reached his house, my heart began to pound with excitement, because I noticed that the black mist on Mr. Davies's roof was the same as the black mist I had seen at Mr. Anderson's house years ago. Thinking of this, I quickened my pace and ran quickly towards his house. When we reached Mr. Davies's doorstep, his door was closed. As soon as we got close, we smelled a strong, bloody odor. Mr. Davies's face changed when he smelled the blood. He shouted and tried to push the door open. "Spring, spring!" Mr. Davies pushed the door for a long time, but it still wouldn't open. I quickly pulled him away. "You can't push it open like this. There's demonic energy holding it back." Uncle Master had already lit a talisman and slipped it under the door. As Uncle Master shouted, "Break!" the door opened with a creak. A figure was devouring Spring. It was so engrossed in eating that the monster only reacted when we entered. It quickly slipped out the back door. Uncle Master immediately drew his sword and chased after it. Unexpectedly, after a while, the monster turned back. I stood behind the door and stabbed it with my sword, then immediately chanted the binding spell, wanting to trap it. To my surprise, when I performed the binding spell, thinking it was secure, it directly broke through the spell and escaped. I didn't react for a moment. This monster actually broke my binding spell. Then I thought, this monster had already escaped. Why did it come back? Did it come back to get something? Thinking of this, I started searching the house. Suddenly, I found something in the corner of the room. I picked it up and was stunned. It was a cage. I recognized this cage. It was the same cage Headmaster had back then. This time, there was no mistake. This was the great demon that killed Headmaster back then. I wanted to take the cage and find Uncle Master. A piece of paper stuck to the cage caught my attention. I took out the paper and was instantly stunned. It was a sugar cube wrapper. The sugar cubes on the White Cloud Temple's altar were wrapped in paper like this. I felt a suffocating sensation, a difficulty in breathing. That winter, I had given all the sugar cubes from the altar to Hazel. Now, this sugar cube wrapper was here. My mind was in a whirl, and I couldn't make sense of it for a moment. Could Hazel be the great demon who killed Headmaster? Thinking of this, I immediately chased after it. I had to find Hazel and get an explanation. I hadn't chased far when I heard sounds of fighting in the woods. I immediately rushed over. By the time I arrived, the fighting had stopped. A section of trees around us had fallen. Uncle Master lay in the snow, and the white snow had turned blood red. Felicity, Uncle Master reached out his bloody hand and waved at me. My legs gave way, and I practically crawled to Uncle Master's side. I had forgotten how to cry, only dryly calling out, "Uncle Master, please be okay. I'll take you to the doctor. I'll take you to the doctor." Uncle Master shook his head and clutched my hand. His voice was weak. "Felicity, leave the White Cloud Temple. Leave me." "No, I won't leave," I said. "I want to avenge you." Blood flowed from the corner of Uncle Master's mouth. He shook his head. "Don't seek revenge. You are not his match. This beast, for some reason, knows all my moves." My mind was thunderstruck. For a moment, all words died in my throat. Uncle Master used his last bit of strength to tug at my hand. Only then did I regain my senses. "Felicity, take Master home," he said. I called out Master, but he no longer responded. I refused to believe it, refused to accept that Uncle Master was dead. I numbly carried Uncle Master on my back, walking step by step towards the White Cloud Temple. As I passed Mr. Davies's house, I heard his cries. He saw me walk out the door and asked, "Pastor Davies?" I didn't answer him, only forced a smile, and tears followed. I carried Uncle Master back to the White Cloud Temple. I lit a basin of fire beside him and wiped the blood from his body, changing him into clean clothes. I sat with Uncle Master all night, my mind racing with thoughts. Uncle Master said that for some reason, the beast knew all his moves. I regretted it deeply. If I hadn't studied Taoist magic with Hazel, would Uncle Master still be alive? I thought. No. If Hazel's purpose in approaching me wasn't just to secretly learn Taoist magic, then what was it? As dawn broke, I heard someone calling me from outside the temple. I opened the door, and the villagers from nearby had all come. My dad was there too. Dad said, "Yesterday, I heard from Davies about Pastor Davies's situation. I thought you wouldn't know how to handle these funeral rites, so I called people over." Hearing Dad say this, a rare warmth flowed through my heart. Since I came to live at the White Cloud Temple all these years, I rarely went back. For one, I felt that Dad and Mom weren't good to me, and for another, as time passed, my feelings for them gradually distanced. Uncle Master was buried next to Headmaster. When Dad was leaving, he asked me if I wanted to go down the mountain with him to go home. I shook my head. Dad paused, then awkwardly nodded. "It's good you're not going back. It's good you're not going back. Dad used to hit you often. You should hate me." "That's not what I meant," I said. Dad then added, "It's not wrong for you to stay at the White Cloud Temple. After all, Headmaster and Uncle Master picked you up." I was stunned. "Dad, what are you saying?" I asked. "Didn't Pastor Davies tell you?" Dad looked at me in surprise. "He picked you up from the mountain and gave you to us to raise." I shook my head. Dad sighed. "Pastor Davies picked you up back then and brought you to me, asking me to help raise you. So that's how it was." I looked at Dad calmly, but my heart was already in turmoil. Sigh. Dad sighed again, shook his head, and left. After the initial shock, my heart suddenly felt at ease. I didn't hate Dad and Mom for being bad to me anymore. It turned out I wasn't their biological child at all. Now I understood why Uncle Master brought so many wild goods to our house every year, and why every time he came, he brought me my favorite chestnuts. It turned out I was picked up by him. He was only 10 years older than me, but in his heart, I must have been his child. When one's sadness reaches its extreme, there are no tears. After the people who helped with the funeral rites left, I felt utterly exhausted. I lay on the bed and fell asleep. I knew I was sick. I wanted to get up, but my body had no strength at all. I drifted in and out of consciousness. My body was as cold as the icicles under the eaves. Perhaps I was going to freeze to death on this cold night. Later, I felt someone enter my room, and then, a warm, smooth jade embraced me tightly. I knew it had to be Hazel. It must be her. I used all my strength to shout, "Go away, go away, I'm going to kill you." She didn't move. She fed me water and brewed medicine for me. At night, she would turn into a warm, smooth jade. After several days, I finally woke up. By then, the room was empty. I got out of bed, kowtowed to Headmaster's and Uncle Master's memorial tablets, then picked up Uncle Master's sword and walked into the bamboo grove. "I know you're here," I shouted. "Come out, come out." The snow on the bamboo was shaken down by my voice. After a while, Hazel walked out from the bamboo grove. So many years had passed. She was no longer that little girl, and I was no longer that 10-year-old boy. All those feelings, like snow, had turned into hatred. After years of not seeing each other, her appearance had changed a lot, and so had mine. Why? Why did you kill Headmaster? And why did you kill Uncle Master? I asked, pointing my sword at her. Hazel said, then you ask them, what did my grandma do wrong? Why did they have to kill her? I froze for a moment. Hazel continued, just because I said you picked my grapes, they wanted to kill my grandma. I suddenly remembered that soon after I first arrived at the White Cloud Temple, I first met Hazel while picking wild grapes. She said I stole her grapes and that she would tell her grandma. That night, after I told Headmaster and Uncle Master, they went to perform a funeral ritual the very next day. At the time, I thought they were going to perform a funeral, but now, hearing Hazel say it, they must have gone to kill her grandma. Did Mr. Anderson's family and Spring also kill your grandma? I asked. I told them I didn't kill them. Do you believe me? Hazel said, I don't care if you killed someone or not. You are human, and you are a demon. I said. Hazel nodded. Okay, then today, let's see if you have the skill. I didn't respond to her anymore. I drew my sword and thrust it towards her. To my surprise, she didn't fight back. My sword directly pierced her body. Blood immediately stained her clothes. Her face instantly turned pale. My heart ached fiercely at that moment, as if the sword had pierced my own body. Why didn't you fight back? Hazel shook her head, blood flowing from the corner of her mouth. If I fought back, could you beat me? I know all your moves. I looked at her speechlessly. Felicity, I killed Headmaster and Uncle Master to avenge my grandma. Hazel continued. I didn't fight back because you were good to me. A complex emotion surged through my heart. I just looked at her, but I didn't dare to look into her eyes. Felicity, we grew up together. Can you give me a hug? It was a pleading, begging tone. I didn't respond. I just stood there. As that large patch of white snow turned into pure white snow, my heart finally felt empty. I buried Hazel under the wild grape tree where we first met. There were no grapes that day, only thick snow. Later, I caught the man-eating demon. Hazel hadn't lied to me. She only sought revenge for her grandma and didn't harm anyone else. I closed the temple doors and have been wandering ever since. That's the whole story, folks. Thank you all for your support.